right, well, at this school, I'm currently, as of next month, I'll be teaching 3 different classes. I want to talk about all of 3 of those classes today. Okay. One of them, which is on Saturday only, is a mock test class. And in that class, it's supposed to simulate a test that I heard that some of you guys are preparing for, right? What test are you preparing for? Yeah, and what happens on the test? What do you do there? Yeah, so first there's a listening component. You have to listen to the passage. About how long does that passage run? Does anybody know?
7 minutes.
Is it about 7 minutes? How do you know that?
I failed.
Oh gosh, so it's too much information. I'm sorry. It's on camera now. I'm going to put that on YouTube. I heard from a friend, okay? My friend failed and he told me that. But usually, to be honest, Mr. Lee has asked me maybe to make the passages a little bit shorter than that. But to be honest, I think the passages I use in that class tend to be around 6 minutes, maybe shorter, maybe longer. So you listen to the passage and then you have to write 2 essays after that. What happens in the first essay, do you know? That's the summary, right? So in the summary you have only 15 lines on paper on a, to write out by hand a summary of what you've heard. So there's a lot of things that go into making a good summary. We would talk about things like word choice. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. There's a second essay for the listening component. And what is the second essay? Do you know what that is?
Translation?
No. Expansion, I've heard that word before. In the second essay, you have to answer a question, and it's going to be your opinion. Okay, so I don't know which one is going to be harder. So I don't know. What do you think is more difficult, the summary or writing about your opinion? It could be different for different people, I guess. But you made yourself an easy target now because you have experience. The second one is more difficult. I think if you are well rehearsed in writing, probably the second one should be a little bit easier. And I usually recommend that you spend less time on the second one. Because the summary you're in a situation where kind of there is a correct answer. You can't get it wrong. I mean, you have to be really careful. I think you have to choose the way you're organizing a lot more carefully. And then the second one, I mean, if you have a lot of writing practice, I think all you have to do is write about what's on your mind, and I think it comes a little bit easier if you have enough practice. So hopefully, through taking these classes, you get to have enough practice where you can just write about anything at any time, right? That's a good idea. So that's the Saturday class. The class that I'm doing on Tuesday, Thursday at, I believe it's 4 o'clock or 4:10 maybe, is the reading and summary class. That class is similar. The difference is that it's not going to cover the second question. It's just going to be summarizing. And also reading and summary, so I guess you can read the text, okay? I don't know, it's different. Some people write a little bit differently based on what they've read, rather than what they've just listened to. In that class, the passages are going to be a little bit shorter, so I don't know, I guess, is that easier then, a shorter passage? I think it should be, but we'll be able to cover at least 2 passages per class, so it'll be a lot more comprehensive, better practice. Also, in both of those writing classes, I think one of the most important things that we'll be doing is that after you do the writing, you give it to me, and I get to take it home with me, and I'm going to check it and give it back to you. And then also, I usually expect some level of participation in the class too. So in the past, usually students will volunteer or be victimized, and somehow they'll get to be standing up and reading their writing. I don't know how comfortable you feel about that, but it's a really helpful. It's helpful to the other students. It'd be helpful to you guys. And I mean, if there's someone who's just painfully shy and doesn't want to give it up, we have ways of making you talk. Okay. So I can just take them randomly sometimes, and I'll just anonymously read them myself. I hope we don't have to do that because it's not kindergarten, but anyway, it's possible. We can do that. For all the classes that I'm doing, you can expect an email probably in the next day or 2 after the class. That way I can give you a copy. Like if I give you some materials like this, if you guys use Microsoft Word, right? Anyway, you can get a file. You can open Word. It'll be all the materials from the class. Also, I like to make recordings. If you guys, I don't know if you've heard any of the recordings. Mr. Lee, you use recordings in your class, don't you? Who does those marvelous recordings, by the way? I do? Oh, well, okay. I make the voice recordings. I use them in the class also, and you can get a copy of the MP3 files in your email every day after the class. Another one of the things that I like to do in my classes is, as long as you're registered for one of my classes, then I will accept any kind of writing from you at any time through email, even if it's not necessarily related to the class, but if you need help with something else, like, some people had job-related things they had questions about, or school-related, if they were still in school. So I don't mind helping out in that way too, but, you need a sufficient amount of time to get it done. Okay, we're starting a new class, and it's going to be a debate class. Yeah, do you know debate? Have you ever done that before? What happens in a debate? It's non-violent debate. It's peaceful. Okay. Well, in the debate class, let me tell you how that's going to go. The first day will be a little bit different just because it's the first day, but on a normal day you would have some homework, okay? And the homework is, I'm going to give you guys some topics. We'll probably, in a 2-hour class, we will cover probably at least 2 topics depending on the time. And so we're exploring different sides of a topic. So usually, what kind of issue would that be? I mean, it should be something where it's, support or not, or agree or disagree, right? Something like this. I think the good thing about that is, the door is open for a wide variety of different topics. I mean, it doesn't always have to be something really heavy. It could be light topics too, but I intend to really mix it up a bit. So but there should be some difficult ones. We need to have that kind of practice. There should be maybe some more lighthearted ones too. Okay. Debate is not about. It's not about winning, okay? It's not a competition, so just stop right now. But before each class, I will let you know the topics for the next class, and I will expect you to prepare 3 to 5 minute, it can be written, a statement that you will make, supporting the side of the argument that you support. And by the way, you don't get to choose which side you support. I'm going to choose that so that we get an even distribution, okay? I think one of the objectives of debating is to fully understand both sides of an argument. So if you have to support a side that you don't really agree with, I think maybe it takes a little bit more effort, but isn't that better that way? I mean, it's like you're getting more training. So I think that becomes effective because everybody here is using English as a second language. Is that right? Okay, so I think there's never going to be, you're in a school right now. You're studying, you're trying to get better, right? Nobody feels like you've reached the pinnacle of achievement and you have nowhere. I feel like as long as we're here, we're going to feel like we can improve in some way, okay? The purpose of the language is to express ourselves. It could be in speaking or in writing. It's somewhat that's similar. There's some different characteristics also. But in order to do that, you really have to understand the issue. So you have to understand both sides. And I think if you're going to write an essay, for example, you can't just write just from one side. You have to anticipate what would somebody who opposes you, how would they react to what you're saying? What would their rebuttal be? And then if you can anticipate that, you can include that in the points you're already making, right? So that's why it's good to argue, from both sides. I've been teaching it here for a few years. I've been teaching writing. I've been teaching writing in high school also, before I was a high school teacher. And a lot of writing students have problems with logic, okay? This is one of the main things that we'll talk about in my writing class also, and in debate also we'll do, but I haven't done it yet. Logic, using logic, think about, you're getting from point A to point B. It's you're traveling from here to there, but it's with ideas, not places, okay? So you want to explain to the reader or to the listener how you're getting from A to B, All right, but why is that difficult for some people? And what's the big problem in the writing or in the speaking? I think sometimes something that seems really obvious to you may not be so obvious to the listener. So I think a lot of people neglect to explain every step in the logic. So in the classes that we do with the writing or with the debate speaking, you have to know that the most important question that we will be asking is why. W-H-Y. Why? Okay. You have to ask yourself this question when you're writing or when you're preparing to speak. Anytime you put a sentence on paper, you better look at it, read it back again, okay, correct the spelling, correct the mistake. Then ask yourself why, and is there more information you can explain there? A lot of times when we're summarizing something, the speaker or the writer of the passage that we're summarizing will be making some points to support their main idea, right? So they're going to give a main idea, they're going to give some different points that support that idea. And then they're also going to give a lot of other information, okay? What other kind of information are they giving? Well, for example, maybe some kind of statistics, right? The statistics will make their points more credible, okay? They might be giving examples, okay? Examples that support the point that they're saying. They might be giving quotations, things that other people have said, related, not just quotations from random people. I mean, like my mom thinks that it's industry experts, okay, people who are qualified to speak on the topic. One of the things that I notice when beginning writers are summarizing is they get a little bit lured in by some of the really interesting statistics or quotes or examples. And I think in a summary, we're just thinking about the logic here, and we have a limited space to write. So we're not going to include all those examples. We're just gonna, maybe there's a whole paragraph full of examples, but really that paragraph, maybe only one idea is going to be included in the summary. Is like, what's the point? Okay, why? Why is that important? Or what does that show me? This is not a skill that you should expect to just have immediately. You should not expect to take any class for 1 month and then, wow, now I know this. Okay, it's like I downloaded it. And whether you take my class or any class or anything, I think even if you don't take a class, if you want to improve the speaking or the writing, it's going to be continuous practice is the only way. Okay, so I hope that you guys can be realistic there. But as I said about this logical and how to write logically, it's something that over time you will gradually get better at, and you won't necessarily even realize your own improvement, but the teacher will realize your improvement, and the teacher will also be constantly giving you feedback. That's why it's okay to have a teacher. Is the teacher always correct, though? What do you think? Am I always right? Probably. It's a very, very political answer. No, I'm not always correct. The summary is not a multiple choice test, right? So nobody is going to have two exactly the same answers. Okay, there's going to be some variation. There may be some content in a passage that would be, I would say, definitely you must include in a summary. There would be some content I would say definitely do not include it. And there might be some things that I think, this one would be okay to include if you have enough space and if you've covered all the other more important things. So, you don't have to feel like you should be writing exactly what I'm writing. So this class, my class is the debate class also. It's not about, I'm telling you the right answer. It's about, I should be showing you a different way of looking at things, different perspective. I should be offering you chances to practice what you're doing. I should be giving you feedback. And in some cases, I really encourage you guys to challenge me also, because I'm going to, in the writing classes, I will write my summary first, so you'll have that and we'll look at it in the discussion part of the class. And I really encourage you to challenge what I've written also. If you don't understand a sentence, or if you don't think I should have written about that, you should definitely let me know. I think 99% of the time I am confident that I will beat some understanding into you. I think I can explain my writing choices really well and my word choices because partly because I've spent more time on the writing than you. You have to write it just really quickly, but you don't have to necessarily agree with me, even if you think some certain fact doesn't belong there. The debate class starts Tuesday, okay, and so does reading and summary. Thanks for coming, everybody. Yeah. Have a good time. See you around. Okay. See you in the future. Okay. Now get out of here. I have a class, another class.